Tech Garage, presented by RockAuto.com, is brought to you by Borla, the world's most winning exhaust. Steel Rubber Products, quality crafted rubber parts and weather stripping. And by RockAuto.com, all the parts your car will ever need.
All right, last bolt. Look at that. Doggone plastic. Welcome back to Tech Garage, presented by RockAuto.com. You know, the manufacturers are making these cars lighter, they're making them faster than ever, but with that comes plastics, you know, plastic intakes, dissimilar metals, all kinds of things going on, electrolysis. So that's why it's so important to torque your bolts and use proper torque sequences. Hence, this Master Technician Tech Tip. Hashtag MTTT, that's right, it's all about torquing. So what are we gonna do? Well, obviously we're gonna replace that part. This is the coolant outlet, and you know, you wouldn't think Rock Auto has a piece like that. Oh yes, they do. Now I'm gonna put it on here, and you seen me take it off with the air ratchet or the electric ratchet. You don't wanna do that, okay? That's fine for taking it off, that's great. But to put it back on, well, I'm gonna slow down a bit. I'm gonna get the bolts down, I'm gonna get them all started by hand, and then I'm gonna come back with the wrench, and I'm gonna tighten them up a little bit. Now I'm gonna bring this one down all the way finger tight, just to give you a demo. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab a torque wrench. That's important. Now this torque, you can look at the specification, you can look this up on the internet sometimes. This torque happens to be 105 inch-pounds. Now follow the column up. That's right, I said inch-pounds. A little bolt like that's not gonna take 105 foot-pounds. We have an inch-pound torque wrench. If you don't, just take 12, multiply it, you're up to about 9 foot-pounds. Go ahead and put it to about 9 foot-pounds, but that's hugely important. Now, once I got it set up, I'm just gonna come down to the bolt. I'm gonna put it on there, and I'm gonna turn it until the torque wrench clicks. Now, once it does that, right there, then I'm good to go. I'll go back and I'll do all my bolts, but that's a good illustration of why to torque it. Now, you also may run into torque sequences. You see this intake manifold? This is made out of plastic. Once again, you have to follow a sequence. Take a look at this here. It starts from the middle, number 1, and work your way out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way to the end. And then use the torque specifications. Once again, intake manifold, 105 foot-pounds, same thing. So I'm gonna take my torque wrench, and I'm gonna go around to each one of these and torque them, starting at the middle and working my way out. And there's another great tech tip for you. If you don't have a torque specifications and you're stuck and it has to be done, at least work your way from the middle out and loosen just the opposite, so you're not warping any of those parts. Now, one other thing I want to show you. Some of the manufacturers, they're actually showing torque angles, and that's weird, I know. Torque angles, yeah, they go with the torque bolts. They say perhaps, like we said, 105 inch-pounds or 27 foot-pounds, and then a certain degree. Well, if it's 45 degrees, that's pretty easy. Just take your torque wrench and go about 45 degrees. But most of them are maybe 27, 30, maybe even 80. I have a torque angle gauge right here. This is pretty cool because you can put it on the bolt. I'll just demo it for you. This is a 1/2 inch one, so I don't even have the wrench, but I just want to show you what we're doing. We're putting it on the bolt, and then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to take the needle and zero it out. So now I'm pointing on 0. Then when I pull it, I'm actually going to take this and move it 10, 20, 30 to whatever angle it's at. Now that's putting that final stretch, that final torque on that bolt, that clamping force. That's going to make sure your engine's in tip-top shape. Now that tech tip is huge, and you want to use that anytime you're working on a car. Now these vehicles today, they're riddled with plastic pieces and dissimilar metals, so torque specifications and torque sequence are the key. I hope this tech tip helped you, but you know, some of these things you're gonna have pattern failures, they're gonna break. They're not all manufacturer items. RockAuto.com's got us covered. Let's check in with Tom and Dave.
Well, John, sometimes what may seem like a complicated problem might just have a simple solution. And Tom, on RockAuto.com, how do we know what people are replacing the most often on their cars?
Yeah, plastic parts can last for the life of the vehicle, or they can fail frequently on certain models. And to identify the parts that are problem prone on your vehicle, look for the darker font print. And then once you get into the list of parts, watch for the heart icon. That indicates a part that customers have bought most frequently and returned least frequently, so they've been most successful with.
Now here's an example of something that's super popular and something that can have some problems. If you have a Chrysler, this is the oil filter housing from the 3.6 liter V6, and you have to tighten it up here at the top, and if you put too much torque on this nut, you're going to end up with some cracks down here at the bottom, and over time that plastic degrades, you'll need to replace it. Also over here on this end, you have some sensors where the oil and antifreeze go in, and you can get some cracks around that area, then that could lead to a lot of problems as well.
Yeah, so something to think about with these. You pull out the filter there, the cartridge style filters. There's a separate bypass valve, this little part right here, that if you have a traditional can oil filter, that's in there, you never knew about it, and you throw it away every time you replace the filter. What the bypass valve does is if the filter clogs up, it still lets oil circulate through the engine. And it's a good idea with these cartridge filters to replace the bypass valve separately, maybe not every oil change, but every once in a while, so it continues to work. If it's missing, then you're actually circulating dirty oil through your engine without having to go through the filter. So yeah, that's a nice little tip to know with these new cartridge filters, which are becoming very common on newer vehicles.
Whether you're replacing a broken part or assembly or just doing some routine maintenance like this oil filter, rockauto.com is the perfect place to go for everything you need.
Dave Dobson, report to the all-wheel drive, and please keep your hands where I can see them.
There you go. John, I am just impressed that you're actually sitting in the front of a police car instead of the back for a change.
Hey, that's a first, but you know what? You killed it today, Dave, man. I took it on a test drive, rechecked the fluid. This thing's gonna be in service for a long time.
I think we had a pretty good show.
Man, we had a great show. You know what? We're out of time for this week, folks, but check us out on social media, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all that cool stuff. We're all over the place, man. A show for the people. We'll be back next week with more Tech Garage presented by rockauto.com. Tech Garage over and out.
Production assistance for Tech Garage is provided by Chipola College, located in Marianna, Florida. Founded in 1947, Chipola was ranked recently as one of the top 3 community colleges in the United States.